Students, I welcome you all for my today's class. So, continuation of the diagnostic procedures. We have covered the wet mount test and certain common investigations which are needed for the diagnosis purpose. Then coming to the specific gynecological testing. First one is the cervical and vaginal smear for exfoliative cytology. So what do you mean by cytology? Cytology is nothing but it is a branch of pathology where we study about the cells. So if to diagnose certain diseases or to diagnose certain conditions, like whether it is normal, pre-malignant conditions, malignant condition, or it is infected with certain microorganisms, we need to go for the cytology. Exfoliative means to extract or to take the scrape the cells from the epithelial tissues, like especially the mucous membrane, etc., to collect the cells, and then it go for the study of the cells. So the cytology means the study of the cells. So here we are doing the cytology of a cervix and the vagina. So from the cervix and vagina, from the outermost part, that is from the mucous membrane, we are extracting the cells, and then we are making it a smear means whatever the discharge we have collected, we have to spread it over a glass slide or a glass slide, yes, spread over, and you have to examine under the microscope. So that is a smear preparation is needed for any type of cytological examination or cytological study, you can say. So coming to the cervical and vaginal smear for exfoliative cytology. So coming to first its indication. So what are its indication? First, it is used as a screening procedure, yes, to screen certain cancer, whether the woman is suffering from any cancer like cervical cancer or vaginal cancer, etc., whether cancerous condition is there or it's normal. So it is a screening procedure. One uses in screening. Another is for cytohormonal study. Cytohormonal study means the effect of certain hormones. As you know, the female hormones varies in different phases of the menstrual cycle, and it also varies in the different ages. So to study the effect of different hormones over the cells, we also need to go for the cytological examination. Then for other purposes also it is needed. So coming to first screening procedure, a very common screening procedure which we can perform on the outpatient setup also, OPD setup also, is very common. It's called as pap smear or papilloconus smear. It's a very common screening procedure in gynecology. So coming to the screening procedure, so that is a pap smear screening procedure we are dealing here. Collection of material. First, how to collect the material. The cervix is exposed with a cuscous vaginal speculum without lubricant. First, we have to expose the cervix with a cuscous vaginal speculum. We have to introduce the speculum without using any lubricant. Usually we apply lubricant before our application or introduction of any instruments to reduce the pain, and to lubricants are helpful, but you should not use the lubricant here if you are going to perform any cytological study, because it can disrupt the results. And prior to bimanual examination, yes, it should be always be done screening procedures. If you want to collect the sample for screening procedures, it should always be done before doing the bimanual or vaginal examination. That is, it should be collected during the speculum examination. Lubricants tend to distort the cell morphology. Yes, lubricants can distort the cell morphology. You cannot visible it, otherwise it can change the cell morphology. That's why it's better to avoid lubricants if you are going to take or collect the sample for the screening procedures. Second is this cervical scraping. Yes, after the placement of the cuscous vaginal speculum, next is the cervical scraping, because it is an exfoliative study. So we need the cells from the cervix. So the material from the cervix is best collected using the airy spatula. Airy spatula is made up of a wood or a plastic. Whole of the squamocolumnar junction is to be scraped to obtain a good material. So with the help of a airy spatula, it is just a long shaped spatula of made up of wood or the plastic. So with this spatula, you have to collect the you have to scrape or collect the sample from the squamocolumnar SC junction of the cervix. See here, the method of collection is given here. So before starting this method, I'll explain you about the kit. See, this is the pap smear kit. Pap smear kit, what it contains is, these are the pap smear supplies. Means, so before collection of the sample for pap smear, all these things should be kept ready. That is, it's first is the cusco speculum, and then is a pap smear kit. It contains the airy spatula, you can see here, and a cyto brush is there, and a cotton swabs. These three instruments comes under the pap smear kit. Then gloves for wearing, and a container for the collection, and the glass slides to spread the smear, or to make a smear, or to spread the sample collected over the glass slides. And then after the collection, you have to keep the glass slides in a closed container and send it to the laboratory for the study. So this is first all these pap smear kit should be kept ready beforehand. Then a physician or gynecologist should wear the sterile gloves. Then without you applying any lubricants, she should insert the cusco speculum or go for the speculum examination, and with a good light source the sample is to be collected. So these three important things comes under the pap smear kit, that is the cyto brush, airy spatula, and a cotton swab. See here, this is the conduct internal inspection speculum, perform a pap smear are required. See here the method of collection. This is first step, that is the introduction of a cusco speculum. Then afterwards, see here, this is the airy spatula. With the help of airy spatula, you have to collect the cells from the squamocolumnar junction. You have to rotate it to the 360 degree, and you have to collect the whole cells from the squamocolumnar junction. And this is the cyto brush, and here you can see the cotton swabs. So collection of a smear steps, coming to the steps. First is with the help of a airy spatula, you have to collect the cells from the squamocolumnar junction. See here, you have to rotate, this is the airy spatula, and you have to rotate it to the 360 degree, completely roundwards, 360 degree you have to rotate it, and you have to collect the cell from the complete or the entire squamocolumnar junction. Then the second step is with the help of a cyto brush. By cyto brush, taking the endocervical sampling, you have to insert the cyto brush into the cervix. So you need to collect the endocervical sample with the help of a cyto brush for screening. And the third one is either with the help of a other end of the airy spatula, or with the help of a cotton swabs, you have to collect the sample from the lateral vaginal fornices for cytohormonal study. Simultaneously you can go for the cytohormonal study also with the help of. So samples is to be collected from three sides. One is from the squamocolumnar junction, second is from the endocervix, and third is from the lateral vaginal fornices with the help of airy spatula, cyto brush, and a cotton swab. So these are the steps of a collection of a pap smear sample. Then vaginal pole aspiration. The exfoliated cells accumulated in the vaginal pole in the posterior fornix is also collected either using a glass pipette about 15 cm long and 0.5 cm in diameter with a rubber bulb at one end, and by a cotton swab. Swab stick also can collect the vaginal pole. This is not much reliable. Collection by any one of the methods should be combined with the endocervical sampling, either by the cyto brush or with the moist cotton tip applicator. So this is the endocervical brush. Next, after collection, what you have to do? This is the method of collection. From the three sides you have collected using a pap smear kit the sample, okay, from the three sides. Then after collection of the sample, next step is the fixation and the staining. The principle of the staining is to achieve the clear nuclear definition and to define the cytoplasmic coloration. So you need to stain it all. So fixation is, after fixation you have to stain it. The material so collected should be immediately spread over a microscopic slide. So after collection, what you have to do, you have to collect the sample from the three sides. So after collection, what you have to do is you have to take a glass microscopic slides, and you have to spread the sample. That means you have to make a smear of it. That is, spreading a sample over a glass slide is called as preparation of a smear. So you have to prepare a smear, and once it put into the fixative ethyl alcohol 95% before drying. So you have to put a fixative over it, that is fixative is ethyl alcohol 95% before drying the slides. Usually it can be done in the laboratory. So after fixing for about 30 minutes, the slide is taken out, it is air dried and sent to the laboratory with proper identification. So after fixing within 30 minutes you have to send, after air drying you have to send it for to the laboratory for the proper identification. The slide so sent is strained either with a pap smear, that is PAPS method, papillocolos or source method, and examined by a trained cytologist. Means it should not be examined by a lab technician and all. Cytologist is needed especially for a cytological study. Indeed, a trained cytopathologist and a cytotechnologist are vital for the success of any screening program. So next is coming to the benefit of the screening. The objective of the screening is to reduce the incidence of mortality from the cervical cancer. Even a single smear in a lifetime, if properly timed, will produce some benefit. So it is very important to reduce the incidence and mortality from the cervical cancer, because cervical cancer is the second leading cause of the death in Indian females. First is second leading cause of death, or second commonest cancer in the females. Cervical cancer is. Even a single smear in a lifetime, if properly timed, will produce some benefit. If extended only to the high risk group, the mortality from the cancer death will still be reduced to 60%. Pap smear test has been effective in reducing the incidence of cervical cancer by 80% and the mortality by 70%. As a result of Pap test, more and more pre-invasive carcinoma is detected. So you cannot only only what you said identify the cervical cancer, but you can also identify the pre-invasive carcinoma, that is the starting stage or the first stage of cancer itself. If you identify the cancer in its the initial stages, then it's very easy to save the life of a patient. Okay, so you can so the pap smear is not only helping in diagnosing or advanced stage of cancer, but it also helps in diagnosing the pre-invasive cancer, means without the spreading of a cancer, or you can say the early stages of the carcinoma, which is very important. So cancer, for the treatment of cancer is, if you diagnose early the cancer, then it will be better for a patient to treat it, or you can save the life of a patient, you can say. Opportunistic screening done by a trained staff is effective and follow-up is maintained. Pap smear testing after total hysterectomy done for benign lesion is not recommended. So you are not supposed to go for pap smear after hysterectomy. Next is intervals, when we should go for the pap smear. So in which patients it is suggested. All sexually active women should be screened starting from the age of 21 years or after 3 years of vaginal sex with no upper age limit. So you can go for the pap smear in all sexually active women. You can start from the age of 21 years or after 3 years of vaginal sex with no upper age limit. Screening should be yearly till the age of 30. Thereafter, it should be done at an interval of every 2 to 3 years after 3 consecutive yearly negative smears. The high-risk group should be screened with HPV DNA testing combined with the cytology. The negative predictive value of 1 negative HPV DNA test and 2 negative cytological tests are almost 100%. When both the tests are negative, the screening interval should be increased to 6 years. If negative, the DNA testing can also be combined with it. It can be increased to 6 years. So here certain categories they have mentioned. In whom we have to go for screening method. So based on the risk, they have classified the indications into low risk categories, high risk, and the at risk categories. So low risk, in which women it is not needed, or you are not supposed to go for the screening test. So low risk group, the woman who had never been sexually active. If a woman is not sexually active, then no need to go for screening, means she is having the less chances of getting cervical cancer. Women age 70 who had 3 negative smears in the past 10 years. If he is 70 with 3 negative tests in the past 10 years, then also no need of further screening. A woman who had hysterectomy for the benign lesion, then in them also there is no chances of cervical cancer. So in these 3 women comes under the low risk category, and the screening should, according to the ACOG category, then screening should not be done in those patients. Then coming to the at risk group, women aged 21 years or having sex for last 3 years up to the age of 70 who are or have been sexually active every 2 to 3 years after the age 30 with 3 negative yearly smears. So you have to go for the investigation in such risk group when every 2 to 3 years after the age of 30 with 3 negative yearly smears. If the smears are negative, then you can go for the 2 to 3 yearly once investigation in them. Then coming to the high risk, early marriage, early intercourse, early pregnancy, smoking habits, oral pill users, multiple sexual partners, human papilloma virus infection. These are the high risk group categories: early marriage, early intercourse, early pregnancy. If the woman is taking oral contraceptive pills, smoking habits, multiple sexual partners, and who are suffering from HPV infection, human papilloma virus infection, these are at the higher risk group or higher risk categories. So in them, every 2 to 3 years after the age of 30 with 3 negative yearly smears. So you have to go for yearly smears, okay, in these categories. If negative, you can go for 2 to 3 yearly once investigation in the screening. So this is all about the risk categories. Then coming to the results interpretation, morphological abnormalities of a nucleus, it's called as dyskaryosis, because cytology is nothing but the study of the cell. So cell contains a nucleus. So if there is any abnormality in the nucleus, if a nucleus is not proper, then that condition is called as dyskaryosis. Abnormalities of the nucleus is termed as dyskaryosis, okay. So here what may be the dyskaryosis? Like disproportionate nuclear enlargement. In certain cells you will find the nucleus is enlarged disproportionately compared to the size of the cell. Second, irregularity of the nuclear outline. You cannot see the nuclear outline, or you can see the irregular nuclear outline. Abnormalities of the nucleus in number, in size, and in shape. A nucleus are abnormal means usually a nucleus, one cell contains one single nucleus, but in certain cells in pathology, like in dyskaryosis cell, you'll find 2 or 3 nucleuses. Their size is also different, either large or increases, or shape is also distorted type. Hyperchromasia, chromatin content will be more, and the condensation of the chromatin material can be seen, and multinucleation, as I have already mentioned, more than one nucleus may be present. So all this comes under the abnormalities of a nucleus or dyskaryosis, which can be seen in the cervical cases or pre-cervical condition, pre-malignant condition. So coming to the abnormal cells which you can find here, the abnormal cells are again classified into mild dyskaryosis, moderate dyskaryosis, and the severe dyskaryosis. So coming to the mild dyskaryosis, so mild dyskaryosis, what happens in this condition is cells are of superficial or intermediate type squamous cells. Cells have angular borders with translucent cytoplasm. The nucleus occupies less than the half of the area of the cytoplasm. So nucleus is less than half of the area of the cytoplasm, and binucleation is common. You will find 2 nuclei. Mild dyskaryosis correlates with the cell from the surface of CIN1, cervical intraepithelial lesion 1. So the first category you will find the mild dyskaryosis. Second, moderate dyskaryosis, the cells of the intermediate, parabasal, and the superficial type squamous cells are seen in this case. Cells have more disproportionate nuclear enlargement and hyperchromasia compared to the mildly dyskaryotic cells. Here you will find hyperchromasia and more disproportionate type of nuclear enlargement. The nucleus occupies 1/2 to 2/3 of the total area of the cytoplasm. So next is about the severe dyskaryosis. So what happens in the severe dyskaryosis? Severe dyskaryosis cells are of basal type. Usually the basal type of cells you will find here, looking round, oval, polygonal, and elongated in shape. So these are of the different shapes. So in cases of severe dyskaryosis, the abnormal cells may occur in the clumps or singly. The abnormal nucleus either practically fills the cells, and there or there may be a thick, dense, narrow rim of cytoplasm around it. So you can see a new abnormal nucleus which is completely fills, means you can see a bigger or a larger nucleus which is equal to the size of a cell almost, or you can only find around a thin or a rim of a narrow cytoplasm around it. The nucleus is irregular with coarse chromatin pattern. The cells may be different in size and shape. Severely dyskaryotic cells, when elongated, are sometimes called as fiber cells. So when severely dyskaryotic cells are there, when they are too elongated, they are called as fiber cells. A severely dyskaryotic cells with an elongated tail of cytoplasm is described as a tadpole cell. So in the severe dyskaryosis, you will find the fiber cells or a fiber cell along with the tail of cytoplasm, which is called as a tadpole cell. So these are the characteristics of a severe dyskaryotic type of cells. So severe dyskaryotic cells can be correlated with the CIN3, means stage 3 of the cervical cancer, intraepithelial neoplasm. See here, you can see a slide of a severe dyskaryosis. You can see here the cells nucleus is very large, and you can see a rim of a cytoplasm around the nucleus and different shape of the nucleuses. And you can here see in some cells there are multiple nucleuses, and you can see the chromatin in dense chromatin here, and most the basal cells are there which stains blue. You can see most number is of a basal cells compared to other cells. Then one more condition is that it is called as coilocytosis. Coilocytosis is the nuclear abnormalities associated with the human papilloma virus. Cells shows typical central clearing with peripheral condensation of cytoplasm. The nucleus is irregularly enlarged and shows hyperchromasia with the multinucleation. Patients with coilocytosis on repeated smear need colposcopic evaluation. Then carcinoma in situ. Here, carcinoma in situ, in this condition, cells are of parabasal type with increased nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. The nucleus may be irregular, sometimes multiple. The chromatin pattern is granular, cytoplasm is scanty. The next is invasive carcinoma. Cells are single grouped in clusters. The cell shows irregular nuclei and clumping of the nuclear chromatin, which is also coarse. Here large tadpole cells are seen in the invasive carcinoma. Next is about the liquid based cytology. Normal squamous cells and endocervical cells can be seen here. See, this is a slide of a carcinoma in situ. You can see parabasal cells are more, and here you can see the chromatin in dense, and nucleus multiple nuclei are present. Coming to next, the reporting. So after seeing all these things completely, the examination is done under the microscope. You have to give a report. Okay, so reporting system on the grading basis. Papillicolous is replaced by some with two remarks only, abnormal and normal. So sometimes they give a report mentioning it is a normal or abnormal pap smear test. So what do you mean by abnormal smear? Abnormal smear indicates the presence of lesion, either CIN or papilloma virus infection or invasive malignancy. If they mention it as an abnormal smear, then it means it is either a CIN or papilloma virus infection or invasive malignancy. Or sometimes they give a doubtful and inconclusive smear which it takes repeat smear. So if the smear is not correct, they give a doubtful or inconclusive smear. In that case, you have to repeat the pap smear testing. So sometimes they give only the two remarks, normal or abnormal, but sometimes they mention it under the certain gradings, which is called as Papilliconous grading. Group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 and group 5 gradings are given. So group 1, if they mention normal, means first grade is the normal, that means it is healthy, there is no chances of any dyskaryosis or nothing like abnormal in the cytology. Group 2, group second is the presence of borderline atypical cells, probably due to infection, no evidence of malignancy. Group 2 is maybe some atypical cells are seen borderline, but there is no cancer, means no malignancy, but you will find some atypical cells which are indicating towards the infection, but not the malignancy. Again, the second group is free from the malignancy or free from the cancer. First group is normal, second is also normal, means free from the cancer, but maybe some other infection may be there. possibility of some any other infection will be there. Second, group 3 is cells suspicious of malignancy. Here in this group 3 you'll find they are doubtful cells, means yeah, malignancy chances may be there. Suspicious means chances of malignancy will be there. In the fourth group, presence of few malignant cells. Here you'll find malignant cells, you can detect the malignant cells, but which are very few in number. So group 4. Group 5, presence of large number of malignant cells. You can find the tadpole cells, fiber cells, or severe dyskaryosis type of cell. Then you can be say as a group 5. So these are the 5 Papillonicosis grading. Coming to the accuracy of a pap smear test, a single pap smear has a diagnostic sensitivity of about 60%. False negative result may be up to 25%. False negative rate of pap smear after 3 consecutive negative test is less than 1%. There are several reasons for false negative smear. This may be due to technical error where the smear is too scanty, too thick, too bloody, poorly stained, or due to misinterpretation by the cytologist. Errors in the cytology could be reduced further by the liquid based thin layer, slide preparation, and automated or computer screening methods. Abnormal cytology is an indication of colposcopic evaluation and directed biopsy. So if you find any abnormal cytology, so further what you should do, whether you can confirm it as a cancer or further you need to go for any other investigation or testing. Yes, you need to go for a colposcopic evaluation and a directed biopsy directly under the scope of colpo, and with the help of a colposcope you have to go for the evaluation. You have to see the with the help of a colposcope you can directly see the area, and if you find some abnormalities, so that area is to be taken. That means from biopsy is to be taken from that area. If colposcopy is not available, biopsy is to be taken from the unstrained areas following application of Siller's or the Lugol's iodine solution. In the presence of infection, repeat cytology has to be done after the infection is controlled. So next is about the Bethesda classification. Accuracy of sample, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. Two results will be the squamous cell abnormalities, glandular cell abnormalities, or other cancers they have mentioned. In the squamous cell, atypical squamous cell ASU of undetermined significance. ASU cannot exclude high grade lesion, low grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, high grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, squamous cell carcinoma. Glandular cell abnormalities includes atypical glandular cells, specify site of origin if possible. Typical glandular cells favor neoplastic adenocarcinoma in situ adenocarcinoma. Other cancers includes lymphoma, metastasis, sarcoma, etc. So this is all about the pap smear test. One more test is liquid based cytology, LBC. Liquid based cytology or the cervical smear is taken using a plastic spatula. The spatula is rinsed in a liquid media. Cells are separated by centrifugation. You have to centrifuge the cells, and the smear and cells are to be separated. A thin layer smears are made. Then National Institute of Clinical Excellence has recommended to replace the conventional smear with the LBC. This is a method of preparation of a smear. LBC avoids the risk of false positive, false negative, or unsatisfactory smear. So this is a method of preparation of a cervical smear. You can directly spread it over the slides, or you can centrifuge it in a liquid media and you can make it a smear. So that is called as liquid based cytology. Procedure: the lateral wall of the upper third of the vagina is slightly. So this is all about the pap smear. Cytohormonal study we will study in the next class. Thank you.